So let's get started now. Welcome everyone to Women's Entrepreneurship and how to support it. My name is Sophia Fang and I'm the head of marketing at Honeycomb Credit. I'm super excited to welcome and be joined by a panel stacked with women entrepreneurs who are personal inspirations to me and many others in the community. For this exercise, and for this panel, we really want to promote knowledge sharing amongst women-owned businesses and really share the secrets of how to be successful in the industry, as well as give everyday people and everyone in the audience easy, tangible ways for anyone to support women-owned businesses in your own communities. So to start things off, I need to do a disclosure that's required. So this presentation is for informational purposes only and should not be interpreted as investment or financial advice. Investing in small businesses via Honeycomb Credit is a financial investment and there is no guarantee for a return. Small business lending is risky and investors could lose part or all of their investments. So now that we have that across the way, I wanted to share a little bit about Honeycomb for those of you who aren't familiar. So at Honeycomb, we really believe in building vibrant, financially empowered communities. And we do so by connecting small businesses looking to grow with everyday people, their customers and fans who are looking to invest locally. So through our investment and loan crowdfunding platform, where small businesses that are looking to expand can borrow loans directly from their customer fans, as well as thousands of small business investors in the Honeycomb community who are looking to invest local. And this model has proven to work for a lot of businesses. We've worked with over 100 small businesses across the country, and we've deployed over $3.5 million in investments in small businesses from thousands of local investors. So if you were to invest, you can start investing with as little as $100, and like the business will pay you back principal plus interest. So you get a return on your investment, an attractive rate of return, while supporting small business entrepreneurs in your neighborhood. So I'm thrilled now to introduce you all to our very awesome panel. And our first panelist is Vanessa Bruce. She's the co-founder and CEO of Dough, which is an online marketplace for women-owned businesses and brands. We have Candace Maiden on the line, who's the owner of Squash to Beef, a vegan comfort food business based in Cleveland. And then we have, last but definitely not least, Sherry Goldstein, who's the owner of Square Cafe, which has been a neighborhood staple for breakfast and lunch in Pittsburgh for over 17 years. So we'll be spending the first part of this panel talking about everyone's journey in entrepreneurship. And then the second part will discuss how everyone in the audience and folks in the community, how we can support women-owned businesses in our own neighborhoods. So if you have a question for the panelists during our conversation, feel free to use the chat function on Zoom to ask your questions, and we'll be sure to spend the final part of the webinar to discuss the questions from the audience. So that's it from me, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can move on to all the good stuff for the panel. So to start off, my first question for the panelists is, for the folks who are watching today, can you give a quick introduction about yourself and your business? Vanessa, do you want to get started?
Sure, yeah. Hey, so I'm Vanessa. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Dough. You can find us at joindough.com. And we are a marketplace for women-owned businesses, thousands of products, 200 plus sellers, growing every week. Yeah, my journey to founding Dough was a winding road. I never expected, honestly, to be an entrepreneur. I started off my career as a graphic and brand and UX designer, worked in the startup world, saw the lack of support and investment dollars for women-owned businesses, and got really passionate about it. I've been doing it for 3 years now. Yeah, that's a quick rundown of me and Dough.
Fantastic. Candace, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Candace Maiden, and I'm the owner of Squash the Bee. I think, like many people, you don't really set out to think you're going to be an entrepreneur. Your business is kind of birthed out of a need. So in 2017, my family went completely plant-based. We did it for health reasons after tons of research about diet and health, and kind of reversing some of the illnesses and symptoms that we had. We went plant-based. One of the things that we noticed was a lack of vegan options. In the marketplace, we would go to fairs, festivals, to special events, celebratory events. And when we told people we were vegan, the only thing they offered us was fruit and salad. And it's not that we don't like fruit and salad, but we like to eat and we like food to taste good. And we like, we want to eat what everyone else is eating, but there wasn't many options for that. So my partner, who is the chef, and I do more of the business side of things, but he started cooking so many different dishes and making them plant-based. We would bring them to events just for ourselves. And then we realized everyone was eating up our food before they would eat the non-vegan food. And as time went on, we entered into a vegan chili cook-off and we won first place. It was overwhelmingly won first place. And so many people started raving on our food. And we said, you know what? There is space for this. People are needing comfort food options. They need catering services for corporate events, weddings, birthdays. As the vegan community is growing, which is exciting to hear that many people are going plant-based, it's now imperative that if you're going to throw an event and invite people, you're going to have vegan and vegetarian options. And so we provide that for those special occasions. And we pretty much can mimic any food that is on your, non-vegan menu. We try to find the plant-based alternative. We specialize in comfort food. We call American style food and Southern cuisine. We keep very true to our African American roots. So we like to keep some of those traditional foods that we love, but we make it completely plant-based, which is a healthier alternative for our community. So part of it is the food piece, and another part of it is the education piece about diet and living. So we encompass all of that in our business. And we've been in business for 2 years. On March 15th was our second anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sherry, do you want to go next? Oh, Sherry, I think you're on mute.
There I am. Technology wizard, not so much. I could flip an egg okay, though. So I'm Sherry Goldstein, and I own Square Cafe, which is in the East End of Pittsburgh. We've been in business since 2003. It's a mostly breakfast and lunch restaurant. We do a lot of all foods, but we do a lot of plant-based stuff as well as vegetarian options and gluten-free. And we can kind of, we consider people's health is part of our mission also. And we're very community-based. We are active and participate in everything that's around our community. We're involved in many nonprofits. We'll sponsor a baseball team or, sponsor a walk and all that kind of stuff. And we have employees that have been with us for our longest employee has been here for 15 years. And other ones for 13 and more. We recently moved from Regent Square in Pittsburgh to East Liberty, where we were originally 2,000 square feet. We're now 8,000 square feet. We did it also in the middle of the pandemic, and we're learning what this is like in a bigger space. And we also acquired a liquor license, which is new to us.
Very exciting news. A lot of big changes during the pandemic.
I know. I have another business actually, which I don't know what we could talk about both, but I started with Honeycomb because I opened a small grocery store, and that's called My Goodness, and that is still in Regent Square. And that was my first Honeycomb campaign, and it's pretty successful.
Awesome. So my first question for the panel, and this is for everyone, is when you were just getting started with your business, what was one of your biggest roadblocks, and how did you overcome it? Sherry, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah. Ironically, my biggest roadblock was probably my mother. I grew up in small business, family business, and I went to school for other things, education, and never really finished my bachelor's. And then I started working in the drug and alcohol field for a long time, 13 years before I opened the restaurant. And I just had a thought to make a cool little, it's like a pipe dream kind of a thing. And I told my mom what I wanted to do, and she said, "You're going to ruin your life." And I think that was her experience. And, maybe that's dramatic, and, sometimes she can be, but it's hard to pay taxes. It's hard to pay employees. It's hard to get people to work. She was in retail. She worked 9 to 9, many, many, many days and weekends. And it was really hard. And I got what I know where she was coming from because I lived with her, obviously. I grew up in that. But in some ways it was in my blood. And obviously finances were a huge burden or hurdle for me. I didn't have very much money. I had a little bit of money, and I liquidated anything I had and just kind of dumped it into the business, and literally opened with like $20,000. And I would not recommend that to anybody, but it worked.
Thank you for sharing your personal story, Sherry. Candace or Vanessa, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So for me, the biggest roadblock was just all the many hats that I have to wear and trying to balance everything. Like some women, and not all, but I have a partner, I have a daughter, so I'm a mom, and my daughter is only 4, so they're needy at that age. And I still work a full-time job. My business is not my full-time business because I can't provide for my family just with this, as because we're a startup. So I'm still working full time, and then I do business stuff. So a lot of my time was just learning so much about the business, like you talked about, with taxes and the finances, which was really my primary role in this space, is just managing all of the logistics. And so it was many times where it was like sleep was not a priority because things had to get done. And I knew I just had to budget. And I hear from a lot of women that sometimes, we kind of default to the primary caregiver of kids. I don't think you have to be just because you're a woman, but sometimes it just happens that way. And so having that, sometimes men don't have to think about that. They can get up and go, and you're like, I got the kid, so it's just, there was things that I had to say no to, or I couldn't do because my child was so young. So that's a roadblock. It's something that I still have to manage. But it's it's still that thing that kind of holds over our head before I can plunge in and take up time. I know I have to have time for my daughter.
Yeah, for me, it was capital. It was a big roadblock. So a little backstory, I had another business before Doe. It was called Six Things. We were a brand and product agency. And honestly, so like my mid-20s, I started freelancing. And so I was working my corporate, startup job, and then going home and designing like emails and websites and the works on the side until 2 a.m. And honestly, so for me, for instance, I'll get really real here. I had 130,000 in student loans I had to pay. I'm also a primary caregiver. I'm one of the primary caregivers for my grandmother. I'm a single mother, so very taking care of my family locally here and everything. And so for me, I couldn't just jump full time into a business. I had to really make sure I had that financial security. And so at Six Things, it was just this constant chase for clients, making sure you can make those ends meet. And then at Doe, we actually raised capital. We raised 1.4 million in early 2019. And because of that, that's what unlocked me to be able to be a founder, because I couldn't be a founder without a salary. And that was a blocker for me. And I had to be super transparent with my co-founder and everyone that if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to give my all, I do need a salary to do this. So.
Yeah, thank you all for being candid and sharing about this. And it definitely sounds like access to capital is a one of the big roadblocks that women-owned businesses face. And one of the interesting things to kind of flip the script around that is we've seen here at Honeycomb, and there's been studies that show that women and minority-owned businesses outperform their peers when it comes to crowdfunding. And my question for Candace and Sherry, both of you have run crowdfunding campaigns before, and based on your personal experiences, what are the benefits of running a crowdfunding campaign for women-owned businesses?
Okay, I'll start. I didn't know, Sherry, if you wanted to start or not.
Yeah.
But one of the benefits was the connection that we had to the community and our customers. So I love the crowdfunding because it was us literally selling our business and connecting to people to get them to invest in us. So there was a lot of legwork that we did, but I also feel like the people who invested in us are like, oh, I'm invested in you all and your company. And so not only am I investing, but I'm also going to patronize you because I want to see you all be successful so we could get the return. So it was like this great relationship. So the first thing we did was reach out to family and friends and we got an overwhelming response just from people like, I don't even live in Cleveland. I probably will never try your food, but I love you guys and I love what you're doing. So I'm going to invest in you. And so that was great. And then when we went to our customers, like people who supported us in the past, they were honored that they could be a part of our vision and they could be a part of it. And we're using our crowdfunding to purchase a food trailer so we can be more mobile and transient. It was like our pivot through COVID. Since people weren't coming out, we're like, how can we get the food to you? And so with the switch with people even having receptions, people are now switching to more having food trucks and food trailers as opposed to traditional receptions. So when they heard our concept and why we were doing it, I felt that was the buy-in and they felt like we're a part of the business. They felt like they were somewhat of a stakeholder in a way they are. And that also keeps them coming back to support. So I felt that was the most success was just bringing people in and understanding us and our business, as well as us reaching out to them.
Yeah, obviously it could mimic all of what Candace said. It was really a great way to get initially engaged with the community. And I did the fundraising for My Goodness, which was my second business. So I had some recognition in the community. We had already had a successful business, and we had some people that just dove right in, and we had a really successful campaign. I ran a second campaign, and it was for a lot more money and to move my little restaurant into this big, huge space. And that was scary. It's definitely scary. And but we got to talk about ourselves in social media and in emails over and over daily and engage people from locally and also not as local. We had the same experience that friends and family dove right in, and we just wanted people to know who we were and what we were doing. So because we're such a big part of the community and we want to be able to continue to support the community. And at this point, we needed some support from the community. So it worked out great for us, but it's nerve-wracking and it's scary and it's fun.
Thank you. It sounds like the storytelling aspect and the community support were really strong pieces of why you chose to do a crowdfunding campaign. And it also, those two things seem to be things that I see a lot on the Dough website as well, and how the women-owned brands are talking about themselves and things like that. So my question for you, Vanessa, is, you've worked with hundreds of women-owned businesses at Dough so far. Like, have you seen any shared characteristics amongst the brands that are the most successful?
I mean, honestly, like at Dough, I mean, where our whole focus is on storytelling and transparency at our core. And I don't know if I can pick out characteristics, because I think every single business we have on Dough is wonderful and that they are doing incredible things. And I think that is another, like talking about community, another aspect of Dough is we have like our own like dedicated Slack group and private Facebook group where direct to consumer women-owned brands can talk with each other about everything within their space and the problems that they're dealing with, from fulfillment to drop shipping and marketing, the works, right? And I think there's something to say as a woman-owned business, and like just not being afraid of the collaboration over competition aspect of it all, and that there's space for all of us to succeed together. And we actually all probably have similar audiences. So I do see the most success when businesses come together and support each other and aren't afraid to, dedicate some space on their small slice of the internet to another business. Yeah.
Fantastic. To build upon that theme around like mentorship and finding community, my next question for everyone on the panel is, can you share about a time when a woman helped you on your business journey and a time that you paid it forward to someone else? Who wants to get started?
I could start. I actually opened my business in 2003, which was during the war, and it was a scary time. And first, I had my mom saying, "Don't do it," and then other people, saying this is a risky time. And we have a local coffee place in Pittsburgh called Tazadoro Enrico's, and the woman who owned it is Amy Enrico. I went to her because she'd been in business for 3 or 4 years before me, and she'd created this destination spot with some food and some coffee and some community. And she said, "Go for it." Actually, after 9/11, and her place became more and more of a community place, and she was doing better business, and people were back into the neighborhoods and wanted to commune with each other. So she said, don't be afraid, like, do it, don't be afraid, and you can do it. And truthfully, I'm involved with many women's organizations in the city. I hire lots of women and lots of marginalized, as what people would call marginalized employees. So it's not just about women for me. It's really about giving people a chance. And a lot of people haven't had good chances in their lives. They've just been set up poorly. So.
So there's been so many women-owned businesses that's helped us along the way. One of them, when we first got started, there was a vegan restaurant. It was a brick and mortar restaurant. It was owned by an African-American woman called Urban Soul Grill. And she was one of the first to help us when we were planning to be a vendor for the Cleveland Veg Fest. The Cleveland Veg Fest was huge. It usually gets about 10,000 to 15,000 people there. This was actually 3 months after we decided to be a business. We, signed up to be a vendor, and we had no idea what to expect, but she kind of gave us the rundown, like, hey, this is how the crowds are going to be. This is what you need to do to pass the health food inspection and all the nitty gritty. And that was very helpful. She also had a pop-up at her restaurant where she featured vegan businesses there, and we were one of them. And that was kind of our way to see how pop-ups are ran and all of that. And then once we got established, 2 businesses that really helped with and partner with us, and we still keep in touch with them, were 2 cafes. And they said, hey, you guys can always pop up and people can try your food. So they had the brick and mortar, and we had the food that we could bring in. One of them owns a winery. And so she was like, all I have are beverages. So every first Friday we come in and we provide the vegan food. And so businesses comes to her and us, and we have this like great partnership. And so many people in our community have done that. It's like, we provide food, they may provide the space, or, you know, if they're a cafe and they want some stuff on their shelves, we can provide them with different options to bring business into their store. So that's always been great. And how we pay it forward is, you know, we always offer mentorship to those who work out of our kitchen. We share a commissary kitchen. So we have businesses coming in and out, and many of them are, you know, women-owned business or getting started with their catering or their baking business. And they just have questions about how to do things, how to figure out all the nuances with licensing and, you know, the paperwork and stuff like that. So we provide support with that, and we try to buy local. Everything we use, if, you know, if they cook it out of our kitchen or if it's a local company, that's who we're going to support before we go to a big box, you know, store. And that is another way. And if it's a minority owned business or a woman owned business, they usually have the priority. And we try to just keep that cycle going. Like, we give to you, you give to us. And really, we've seen so much success from that. So there's many ways we've done it, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of women and humans, honestly, who have like definitely shaped where I went in my career. Cause like I think I started with, I didn't think I would ever be an entrepreneur, especially of a VC backed company in the startup world. And a lot of that actually has to do with my co-founder, who she's since moved on from Dow to be a full-time investor, but she believed in me. I mean, she was one of my freelance clients that I was designing emails for way back when in my early career. And we kept in touch and circled up, and we met over coffee about starting Dough. And without her, like, I had serious imposter syndrome. I'm like, can I be a co-founder of this company? Do I have the right skills? Like, am I the right person? And the fact that she had so much trust and faith in me to the point where she felt comfortable even moving on and like giving me that CEO title. She was the CEO, and she's like, this is your company. It has been, you're taking this over. Um, that like sponsorship and that mentorship and knowing how to navigate these spaces was everything. Honestly, I wouldn't be where I am without her. On the flip side of that, so for me, giving back, like, both Joe and myself give back in various ways. So Dough itself, we donate, or not donate, we give back 15% of our membership dues back into a Win-Owned Business grant. We actually just distributed our first 2 this month, which was really exciting. And then on the flip side of that, I actually mentor through a program here in Boston called Hack Diversity, which is all about getting Black and Latinx students into STEM fields, like into software engineering, into product design, and really starting to build up that generational wealth. And that's been incredible. I've been mentoring with them I'm going on my 4th year now. And it's such a wonderful community. And that's something I'm passionate about, because I started off my career in tech and started off as like the first woman at a startup walking in, and no one even knew where the women's restroom was, right? They had to go find it with me. So I want to be able to pay that forward to just to other underrepresented communities, that you belong here, you belong in tech, you belong in VC, you can be here.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And it definitely sounds like these themes of like mentorship and community building, it's not only in your professional lives, but also like so deeply ingrained in your personal lives and what you believe in. So I really, really love that. So to shift gears a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about ways that folks can support women-owned businesses, and the things that you would have loved to see when you just got started, or what are ways that people can support you and other businesses now. So my first question for the panel is, where can everyday people find out about women-owned businesses, whether it's in their local community or nationally?
I'm going to jump right in here, because go to joindough.com. Hundreds of businesses. And you can actually, I want to point this out too, is it doesn't need to be these big incremental, like, this doesn't need to be these huge purchases, right? You can swap out your deodorant, your face wash, the snacks you have for women-owned businesses. And so I'm just jumping in, like, it's all about like this transparency system, right? So like a lot of the big box stores, like, do you know if the goods you're buying are from women-owned businesses? And do you know that a lot of women have, like, not just women, but all businesses, to get on those shelves or discount their products by 50% to that big box retailer? Like, go and shop directly from them, right? And it can be as little as $20 a month. Like, we have this whole stat that if you spend $20 a month if everyone in the US spent $20 a month at a woman-owned business, we drive $5 billion monthly to women-owned businesses. And so it's really powerful when you put it in those terms. And then I'll give the floor away because I could talk about this all day. Yeah.
I mean, any local business is a great help in your community, wherever you are. Women, as we know, we've had less income, our salaries are different, our struggles are greater, everything is a bit of a hurdle. So, you know, when you're supporting a woman-owned business, you're giving us just a little bit of a boost. And it, you know, if you get involved with women-owned businesses, you can feel the difference, I think, in how they're run and how they treat their staff and how the customers are treated, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm a big advocate for getting some more women into politics, because I think we would have less fights, less wars, and more settled. But that's obviously a separate subject. So.
So one of the things that my day job, as I say, outside of being a business owner, is that I work in an all-girls school. So I have the opportunity to mentor young girls who have aspirations of being entrepreneurs. And I'm always talking about just encouraging and supporting in this generation coming up. Like, I really think it's so important for them to have that exposure, to see women doing things and shattering glass ceilings. So, you know, I tell girls all the time, like, everything doesn't have to be a trailblazer. I want some of these roads to be paved for you guys. I want some of these obstacles to be a little bit easier. And, you know, and I know we pride ourselves on being the first and doing a lot of stuff, but I want this next generation to say, oh, you know what? So many people have done this before me that look like me. I can do this as well. And so really, by supporting, allows us to have that visibility. It allows us to create that space. So the girls coming after us don't have to necessarily go through some of the hardships that we went through. It'd just be like, oh yeah, I can do this because I've seen the success. I know that this is possible. So I'm always thinking about the ones who are coming behind me, including my own daughter, who hopefully will have aspirations of creating her space in this world in any way that she wants to. And so, you know, as far as women-owned business, social media is a great platform. When you support, I always tell people word of mouth goes a long way. Write that review on Google, right? You know, tell somebody. Most of the people who patronize our business or tried our food is because someone told them about it. People are more likely are going to support because they hear it from their friends than they do just reading a random review. You know, if you go to someone and say, hey, I tried Sherry's food and it was amazing, and I'm guarantee you people are like, you know, I trust you. I'm going there. I'm going to her cafe because it's good. So if we keep that word of mouth going and being able to talk up these businesses and support them, I just think so many people will then, like, you know about it. They're exposed, they'll see it, and we can keep that cycle going of support.
Fantastic. And Candace, that's also a great segue into my next question, which is, you know, besides shopping, like, what are other ways to support women-owned businesses and the entrepreneurs behind them?
Oh, I guess I'll just say it again, like, yeah, other than shopping, is, you're right, spread the word. You know, post on social media a business that you support, encourage others to go. That's just, to me, one of the best ways to do it. You know, if someone's looking, you know, we often are putting things like, oh, we're looking for someone to design. We wanted custom masks one time when COVID hit, or we wanted someone to design a banner. And, you know, it was great when people could direct us to a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business, because then we knew where we, you know, who to support. So I always just say that word of mouth goes a long way. And I totally just tell people to continue to share and spread that word to anyone who's in need.
Yeah, I don't think I could say it any better. Social media is done wonders for retail business and for small stores. And we ride on all the social media. We are very active and interactive with people. And so that's, and obviously talking about it with friends, you get a review that is positive, really does outweigh any ill experience people have. And people these days are more and more likely to post good things, not just what was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, echoing everything that was just said, like nothing beats hearing it from a loved one or someone you trust to go try, go grab a meal here, go try this product. You won't believe where I found this. Like those go a long way. I think on top of that too, like I know it's supposed to be not shopping, but even like gifting from women-owned businesses, because you might have loved ones that are a little like eerie to try new things. And if like you kind of introduce them to a new location, like I'm famous in my family for getting like gift cards to local restaurants around the city and giving them and being like a place they probably would have never walked into on their own. And so I think like that word of mouth, that gifting aspect. The flip side of this that I'm going to say, like your network is probably really powerful. For instance, in raising capital, you'll be surprised who you're connected to that someone might need an intro to for investment dollars, for just kind of software. Like I'm going more that B2B route, but that's like a whole nother aspect of ways you can support women-owned businesses, is being willing to open your network and give introductions to who they need to talk to, for instance. I'll give one example. We've been trying to get the PPP loan since last year. It's been a nightmare to get. And finally, I told one of our investors, he sent an email to the bank and instantly they got back to me. And it's infuriating that it took that piece, but the fact that he opened his door and was like, let me open this door for you and go send this email, meant the world. And that could honestly help save our business. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So my very final question, and for more of a lightning round, is, what's one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring women entrepreneur? And let's go down the line with that. So yeah, I guess Sherry, do you want to get started?
Yeah, I would say don't let your fear stop you. Go for it. Do scary things.
Awesome. Candace?
Okay. I will have to say is that you don't have to do it all on your own. Collaborate, connect, figure out the resources that are already there in your community, seek help. And that could be not just with your business, but with everything. I think sometimes as women, we feel like I got to do it all. I got to be the superhero. But sometimes you're like, oh, wait, I need my village to step in to support, and just kind of pick up one little task that maybe I can't do. So don't wear yourself out. Self-care is like super, super, super important. And I know I'm preaching to myself here, but you gotta stop and say, look, I need help. And there's people out there who are willing to help you. And it's totally okay to ask for that.
So I echo both of those for sure. And on top of that, don't be afraid, like I'm like not like the do it aspect. Like my biggest thing is don't be afraid to like make a connection with someone you think won't work back with you, right? So like I'm constantly sending emails to other business owners and I get ghosted most of the time or don't hear back. But those times when you do, like you'll be surprised how many people are actually really excited about what you're working on and want to talk with you. So just don't be scared to like reach out and build that network and invest in relationships. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, so thank you everyone. And now we're going to move to the Q&A portion of the panel. And definitely if you have any questions for any of the panelists here, like please use the Q&A or the chat function to send them over and we'll be sure to answer them. So we have a question here from Anna Marie. And her question is, what is the best part of being an entrepreneur and what's the most difficult part?
Sometimes those are the same thing, right? The best part is, being in charge of your day, being in charge of your work schedule. And the hardest part is you don't know when to stop often, and you sometimes can't. There's so much to do. There's like never ending jobs to do.
Yeah, I agree. The best part is kind of like making your own rules, if you will, like you answer to yourself. So whatever your vision and thoughts are, is like, oh, that can happen because this is my business. And sometimes you don't always get that opportunity when you're working for other people. So it's good to be like, okay, I'm in charge here. So that's great. And then I think also a good thing is like, that point where you kind of discover your talents and skills that you didn't know you had. You're like, whoa, I didn't know that I could do this, or I'm learning something new, and wow, people are actually liking, my brand or liking my product. So that's always exciting. And I just, yeah, the most difficult part is just the balancing of everything, because when you are, working for yourself, you have to do everything. You can hire help, but there's a lot of it falls back to you. So it's just the management of the day, management of time, and all the other responsibilities.
Yeah, I agree like on everything that that has been said so far. But so just to kind of like reiterate on that, even like the flexibility is the best part, right? For sure. And then the worst part it can be, which comes with that flexibility, can be that uncertainty. Like, will my business be here in a couple months? Like, should I hire? Should I do that? Like, there's all these choices you're making every day, which are both like exhilarating and exciting, and also terrifying. So definitely a balance.
Fantastic. So we have another question here from Christopher, and there's two parts. The first is, why do you think women are more successful in crowdfunding campaigns? And the second question is, how can women-owned businesses or build business? So who wants to talk about the first part about crowdfunding and women-owned businesses?
I could talk about this since we did do a crowdfunding. I think maybe one of the reasons why they're more successful is, of course, that people maybe really want to invest in that vision or seeking out to support, maybe a minority owned business or a woman owned business. So that could be one of it. I also think like there's this hustle in women, I think because things were not always given to us and it's not always easy. Sometimes we work harder because we're putting so much on the line. Like we're sacrificing so much. So it's like, it's all or nothing. I got to hustle. I got to push. I don't have anything to fall back on. And I feel that way as being a woman and a minority. I understand that there's so much that I have to kind of overcome. So I think that pushes me to be more resilient, and it pushes me to like not settle, because I know it's going to be hard, and I know that people are supporting me and watching me and looking at me. So I think that hustle to really go out there and get it is kind of fuels us. So we're more aggressive when we're asking for money or we're asking for support. I know for me, I didn't stop. Like we raised money in less than 30 days, and I was emailing, calling, I was on Facebook, social media, I was meeting with people at coffee houses. It was a nonstop grind. And I think it was just because there was so much that I knew I had to accomplish. So that gave me the motivation to keep pushing.
Yeah, it's sometimes human nature to want to help the guy who's down or the lady who's down. So women are looked at, unfortunately, as needing more help than others. So that might be one. I think the storytelling is a big piece of it. We're a little bit more nurturing, and I can be long-winded at times. And building business is really about how you enter everything in your life. So my business has been successful, I think, because we treat people well, customers and employees. We serve really good food, and we care. And I think that those are really important things.
Fantastic. Yeah, and if I can add my perspective, like from the honeycomb point of view, I think one of there's two big reasons why women are so successful in crowdfunding campaigns. And one, like Sherry mentioned, the storytelling aspect is so core to how you launch and run a crowdfunding campaign. And I think a lot of women-owned businesses and their brands care a lot about that storytelling aspect, and it's really ingrained in who their business is and who they serve. And I think the other piece that like a lot of the panelists have talked about today is that idea of relationship building. I think a lot of women-owned businesses, you work through your network, or you build your network while building your business. And that type of relationship is also really valuable when you do have a tangible ask like a crowdfunding campaign. So just speaking from the honeycomb perspective, I think those are two characteristics that really align with running a crowdfunding campaign. Great. Vanessa, anything to add in terms of how women-owned businesses can build more business?
I mean, if that's a kind of a hard question. I've been trying to think about, because there's so many things and ways to kind of talk about that. I would say, I mean, just to get started building a business is, find your community, like who's going to be kind of your village, your support system, and make I'm a big fan of making plans. I'm a big planner. I live by my calendar, and I come from the product world where it's all about timelines and making sure things get done and milestones. So I'd say set yourself some milestones that you can reach, and they don't have to be big pie in the sky ones. Just like, by this date, I'm going to have my website launched, or I'm going to announce it, or I'm going to send out my first newsletter, things like that. Like set yourself milestones. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we have a question here from Maria. Is there an informational or support meeting group for women-owned businesses in Pittsburgh for in-person or online? So I think Sherry, in your experience, where have you met other women-owned businesses, or gotten more resources or advice in terms of growing your business?
Yeah, I don't know of a resource. It's Chatham University does have a women's entrepreneurship program, and I've been involved with them a little bit. I've been to some things there, and there are a lot of women that attend those. For me, I tend to talk to people when I go into their businesses and try to make connections. When I'm doing research or trying to figure out what my next moves are, I look to cities that are maybe a little bit more advanced than Pittsburgh. I look to Atlanta, to LA, to Chicago, and just seeing what's happening out there, because I want to be on the cutting edge. And so, trying to keep up with what is coming and be that resource is. So, I'm a relationship builder, I think. And so just going in and seeing people and talking about how they've done it and how we can connect. I partner with so many things in so many ways. It's been great.
Fantastic. And to build on that question, for Vanessa and Candace, are there any resources in your cities that you've seen, or groups where women come together, or more on a national level?
Yeah, so we have Jumpstart, we have Urban League, we have NAACP. So even though, yes, it's co-ed, but even within those bigger groups, you will see smaller spaces for women-owned businesses or connections. We did some networking events, obviously, before COVID, where, women were able to come together to talk, to meet, to discuss just business ideas and things like that. Very informal, but it was a great connection for us. And so I'm starting to see now more things popping up. I think COVID things were slow, and now we're kind of getting back to normal in Cleveland. So as we start opening up spaces, I'm sure more of those events will happen. But some of those larger organizations will often have a night just for, women business owners, or African-American business owners, or Latino, like that next community, whatever. So even in that, they'll have spaces for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so many groups out there, which is wonderful and popping up all the time. I mean, if you're like a Facebook user, there's lots of Facebook groups to kind of go join and sift through, lots of them by location. If you're more of like a Slack user, there's like Slack groups coming up all the time from like I'm a part of a couple called like Fem Street and Bunch of Founders, and She Geeks Out here in Boston. So there's just so many, and Boston here actually has one called At the Table, where pre-COVID they would actually bring like 10 women founders together for dinner, like once a month, which was like an awesome kind of intimate conversation. And then like at Doe too, we're building resources for any businesses that sell on our platform. So we hold biweekly coffee chats, for instance, with up to 6 founders at a time to keep it kind of small and conversational. And we have our own Slack group and everything as well. So there's infinite resources out there. It can feel overwhelming, honestly, but I'd say just like kind of join a bunch of them, see which ones that seem to click most with what you're working on, and dive into that community.
Yeah, thank you so much for like everyone's insights today. And I think that's the wrap in terms of questions from the audience. So to finish things off, I really want to thank like all of you today, like Vanessa, Sherry, Candace, like on the panel for sharing about your entrepreneurial journeys and like such valuable advice that like I certainly learned a lot personally today, and I'm sure that everyone in the audience did as well. I also want to thank everyone in the audience for attending and like taking part and immersing yourselves in this candid conversation. I think the first step is learning, and I hope that we all walk away with some tangible and small ways to take actions and pay it forward in our own communities. Because just like Vanessa said, it can be a very small change or a very small thing you do in your life, and it can make a huge difference, on a women-owned business and all of their employees, their family members, and things like that. So I think it's really powerful that how we can spend our dollars and use that to create change. And so thank you everyone for joining today. And have a wonderful Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.